Hey everyone, Chris Gogolin here doing another edition of my GEMP game review series for the Star Wars CCG game. Before I jump into that though real quick, I did just want to make sure to update a couple quick things. The OCS qualifier for April, the online championship series, that's about to wrap up here in just about a week. Looks like, well, Casey's already qualified. Looks like Chris Werfs is going to get in there. Possibly Justin could still move ahead. This is Joe Olson. Justin could, if he wins his last game, move up ahead of them. If he loses, he'll be in a big tie here. Just moving down, Charlie's and Crypto both still possibly could get into this big tie here at 30 points. But then not too much after that. There's a couple guys further down here, but they've got a lot of games left to play still. Flores is right there, but he's only got 4 games. He's 4-0, which is awesome. Great start. But he would have to get 8 more games in the next 7 days. And since he's played 4 in 23 days, I mean, stranger things have happened. We saw Emil go crazy the first month and play all 12 games in like 4 days. So certainly could happen. But the May League will be starting soon. That's what I really wanted to promote real quick. Signups have just started. You can go onto the PC store and go ahead and sign up for that. It's $10 if you don't have the season pass. Um, you get 12 games, competitive Star Wars games, chance to compete for some great prizes, possibly some AI foil slips and all that kind of stuff if you play enough games. So I did just want to touch on that stuff real quick. Hopefully, a lot of the people who have been watching some of these games have been moving up. Brandon had sent me some of the first games after having a not so stellar February month, and looks like he's played 6 games so far, and he's got 12 points, so he's 3-3 this month. Fungineer was another guy who sent me a whole bunch of reports earlier. He's 0-7 this month, but he's still got a few games left to play, and I watched a couple of his games this week, and they were definitely very close games. The game he played the other night against Wayne Cullen, they were both down to right around 10 cards or so, um, and just board position and things like that. So he definitely making some improvements. So it gives me hope that this series is helping people, and that's kind of why we do it. So there are games today. We've got 3 games we're going to go through. One is a full game. The other 2, the player conceded fairly early when things were going downhill pretty fast. So we're going to look at all 3. They all come to us from ShawnD, Sean Dixon. Um, this first game here, this is a full game that he did play against, or a fuller game that he did play against Larry Kraft here. Uh, Larry's a returning player to the game from the Virginia area. I saw he just stopped by, or is trying to stop by their local league events and get involved in that. I watched one of Larry's games the other night, and I think he did pick up a win over Justin Desai in a hunt down, watch your step game. So that's certainly impressive. Larry's going to start hunt down with Document Puller. I am your father, obviously for Vader and the saber, and he starts Crush. Pretty good way to get I Have You Now as the Vader Monarch, and more importantly to protect yourself against Clash. Clash has been a pretty popular card showing up in light side decks because of its versatility against a number of matchups. It certainly helps light side out in some of their disadvantaged matchups, particularly against map. Being able to exclude a key character from a battle can really change things in terms of weapon swings, game text canceling with the FN guy, um, adding a destiny with Phasma, not having enough ability to draw battle destiny because some of the stormtroopers are only ability 1. So if you get the right guy, you could completely ruin the whole thing, or just hitting a guy and then clashing him out of the battle to make him immediately lost. And then we look at Sean. Sean looks like he's playing Reed's version from the NPC. I see that by the Civil Disorder in his deck, which I'm pretty sure Reed was playing. This is an unfortunate mistake. I'm not sure what Larry was trying to do here. I guess he didn't realize what he had in his hand, but the very first action of the game he does is he uses Crush to Rebellion to look for I Have You Now or Evader, and let Sean verify his entire deck. That's that's not good. Don't do that. And whether he didn't realize he had the I Have You Now in his hand, or that he took it out of the deck, whatever the case may be. Obviously, giving your opponent a free look at your deck before you've done anything can definitely influence the game. I mean, just looking at it here, we can tell, unless it's in his hand, he doesn't have any systems. He's only playing one. We must accelerate our plans. So he may not play the bridge. He may have the bridge on the puller in his hand. That seems more likely. And then he's looking like he's playing. He's going to pull the Cloud City Docking Bay. He's going to use Sonic, and he's going to pull this as well, which means he also probably has the security tower in his hand. So now we're getting more information. If you count 1, 2, 3 Vaders in his reserve deck, they typically play 4. So there's a good possibility there's a Vader in his hand. You look at Emperors, 1, 2, there's a third one. That's probably all of them. 1, 2, 3 Mauls, that's probably all of them. I mean, just by working backwards, 2 Dr. E's, 2 Force Fields, Force Lightning, there's 2 Snipers, Search and Destroy. So there's lots of free information that you're getting right off the bat that really would let you know what style of deck this is. This is a very ground-heavy deck. Huntdown's typically more ground-based than space-based, but this one is really pushing hard on the ground here with the 2 Snipers, and then these Cloud City exterior sites. Good choice with the Cloud City sites. Liking these more and more every day because they cannot be hit with projection of the Skywalker. So that's always a bonus there, that they can't, subtract 1 from your drains. Projection is a card that isn't played too much these days, or not as popular as it once was. It was very big in WAP and some of the other decks, but now that some of those have started to rotate out, and you might see a projection floating around, but more likely than not, it's starting to lose its luster. Shawn goes ahead and plays They're Tracking Us after he pulls the Grabber Shield. I've never been a fan of this move. I would much rather always have They're Tracking Us to subtract 1 from a key drain, key destiny draw, rather than grabbing that quick interrupt. I mean, if you think about what he's going to play first turn, what's he really going to play that you're going to want to grab? You had a chance to grab Point Man. That's not the card you want. You really probably want Force Field in this matchup, and the only way to grab Force Field is when you're swinging a weapon at him and he plays it. So I would have saved that They're Tracking Us for a little later in the game to make sure that perhaps I could avoid by subtracting 1, maybe a guy doesn't get hit. We're going to pause this for a second here. Subtracting 1, make sure a guy doesn't get hit, or or perhaps his immunity to attrition wouldn't get cracked, with the destiny there. Shawn activates, he pulls his Docking Bay, and then he does a move that I think I've talked about this earlier in some of my other games. I really don't like. Civil Disorder, especially early in the game. By playing this card, you've just telegraphed to your opponent, I'm not playing Rebel Barrier, because the first thing it says is you may not play Rebel Barrier. This Senator's thing never really only comes into play against Senate, which doesn't matter here. And then there's other text tiers for combat and for retrieving, non-EPP, non-maintenance characters. I firmly believe the only time you should put this card out is when you are about to initiate a battle and you want to retrieve a guy. Because up until that point, everything you do should have some little element of mystery to it. And by playing this card, you're telegraphing to your opponent, like I said, I'm not playing Rebel Barrier. So if you throw your Luke down at one of these sites with his lightsaber and you're like, haha, and you save 1 or 2 force, your opponent has to be concerned that if they deploy somebody to battle him, they might get barriered, and that guy might be stuck there. And then you're going to deploy everything else that's in your hand and beat the crap out of them. And that changes the way that they approach the game and what they do. When you put this card down this early and you leave Luke sitting there by himself with no force left, or with 1 force saved, they know that 1 force isn't going to be used for barrier because you can't play it. So they can come down and take a gamble on doing whatever they want because they don't have that fear that that barrier might get them stuck there. Sean's going to head. He's going to draw some cards. He's going to play Wisa. Boss Nass wasn't in there. He grabs the battle planes. And then he's just going to keep drawing. Perfectly fine situation here. He pulled his activation. He gets the other Wisa. Boss Nass Chamber is the bottom card of his force pile. He could keep drawing here, but instead he makes a clever move. His Hujix wasn't there, so he'll use the escape pod to use that last force, to use the Hujix to move it around. And now puts it back on the bottom of his deck, and then he can play the Wisa again here to fish it out, which he'll go ahead and do right there. Alright, Darkside plays Vader. That's completely expected, as we saw. Looking at his hand earlier, looked like he possibly had that. He may not have had that. Yeah, he should have had the fourth Vader in hand, but he might have just wanted to get some activation and get a few other things. He saved most of the force. I'm sorry, that's not right. He drew. Yeah, so he emptied his hand. He got a bunch of stuff. Now he's reloading his hand. So he's activating 12. He's got about 10 cards in hand right now. So you have to respect that. You have to respect that there could be a barrier. There could be a you are beaten. We saw 2 snipers in his deck, so just things that you're thinking about. So Shawn gets his activation out. We like this. We get the Boss Nass Chamber. He's going to tunnel vision for a card. He grabs Luke. Perfectly okay scenario there. And he'll go ahead and use Jin as an undercover spy to block the drain. That makes great sense. That does not. We're going to pause that and talk about that. So he did the smart thing. He blocked the drain with Jin. And then he went ahead and gave his opponent somewhere else to go. Kind of similar to Civil Disorder, where I say don't put it down unless you're prepared to battle. Don't put down battleground sites unless you're prepared to go to them right away, especially in this type of matchup. You know, Vader's locked up over here, but there's still Emperors, Mauls that we've seen. You know, probably not Dooku. We didn't see him in the beginning, so we got that free information. But I would not put this battle planes out when I only have 3 force left and can't put anybody there. You know, next turn you're going to activate it without this. Next turn you're going to activate 11. You leave 1 or 2, gives you 12 or 13. That could easily be, you know, Luke and Padme to the battle planes. It could be Luke and you could use Jin and block the drain for a turn, break her cover, drop Luke and Padme over here and beat the crap out of Vader. You know, there's different options that you have. But I would not put this site out and then not do anything with it. You've basically just given your opponent a free pass to go find another place to drain at. And especially because the Emperor, see, you know, if he had gone there first, you know, save this for next turn, played Luke there, Emperor can't come down because you occupy. So Tarkin and Marab against Luke, not really a big deal. You got the blaster deflection to protect the swing, and they only get 1 battle destiny. Luke's fine against that. Luke would run right through that, actually. But now he's dug himself into a hole here. He's got a foothold, and now he's got to try to battle him off to protect his own site. He spends a little force on Jar Jar to cancel Visage. That's a good play. We like that move. But now, looking at the characters in his hand, you've got 12 force left to spend. Luke costs 6. Chewie costs 5. 1 to battle. It's probably about the best you could hope for right now. I would actually rather take a turn, just eat a drain of 2, and worry about that later. You know, is he going to over deploy and commit a 4th character there? Okay, great. You know, he's not playing Ellis because we looked at his deck. Plus, he's got, and you both have the docking bay, you know, pullers, which impact Ellis and Neighborin. Worst case scenario, you could just send Luke over here in a turn or two. But now he's going to try and squeeze Hera out to get a second Battle Destiny. Certainly a risky move. God forbid Dr. E comes down and Luke gets Force Lightninged or something. Snipered. And you got the Blaster Deflection to block one swing, but Hera's certainly a risky move. And it doesn't help that he threw away the Barrier Canceller to Visage the turn before. Hera's going to get Force Lightning lost. Oh, I think, yeah, I see what he did. So he activated, he played Accelerate to pull no escape, and then forgot to go back and finish activating. And then zapped Hera. Shawn is nice enough to let him revert here in a second. That's certainly one of those etiquette things. A few actions have passed since then. It's kind of up to you as the player whether you want to be like, hey, you did 3 other things after that, or whether you're like, well, clearly this is how this game is supposed to play out. So let's see what happens when the game is played the right way. I know I always prefer to win that way, and I think a lot of other people do too. Of course, there's always the people who will take a win. A win is a win is a win. Take it any way you can get it. But typically that's more in other games you see that kind of attitude. So he goes ahead and gets the Force Lightning back. And now we're going to try and rough up Luke a little here. Blaster Deflection gets grabbed. Luke swings. He swings for Emperor. The Destiny deck is pretty good. With the possibility of there being a force field, I probably would have tried to maximize the number of characters you can clear. I probably would have swung at Tarkin. Just to make sure you hit Tarkin, and then your Battle Destiny clears Mara or Emperor. And that only leaves one guy behind. If you swing an Emperor and you miss, so he did have the I Have You Now. So he does play one in the deck, and it was in his opening hand. So that was just unfortunate earlier, missing that he had it already before he pulled it. But yeah, as I was saying earlier, if you swing at Emperor and miss, or he gets force fielded to block that, then you're just drawing one Destiny, and he can pick which character he wants to lose. He could lose Mara and keep Emperor and Tarkin and have the 2 Destiny. He could lose Tarkin and have Emperor with Mara, which is pretty solid. Especially because he got the Force Lightning back. That makes that very difficult to get through. It's probably the best bet. By hitting Tarkin, you guarantee that he loses him plus one of these other 2 guys from your Battle Destiny. And that's only going to leave 1 guy left at the site. Tarkin's going to cancel and redraw that. But we're going to see 4 Battle Destiny here, so it's going to be a good thing that Shawn pulled that Hujix, because I think he's going to end up somewhere around 15 in total Battle Destiny or so with these 4 draws. 8, 13. All solid. 17 for Battle Destiny. That puts him up to 30. Ouch. He gets a 4 with Luke. 30 to 12 is 18. Luke covers half of it. So he'd be peeling 9 right now if he didn't have the Hujix, or if there was a first strikeout and he didn't have any force left to spend. Which would definitely tilt the game towards the dark side player. But he does have the Hujix, so that's good. But now, we're down to just 5 cards in hand, and they're all characters, which is great. But we're starting to get a little thin here. We've exhausted some of our tricks. Our Blaster Deflection's grabbed. Our opponent's reloading his hand. He left Mara. So, character with weapon, 5 character with lightsaber, 5 force saved. Shawn's just going to try and push the pedal to the metal again with Chewie, Solo, and Rey. Rey will get him a card out of the used pile. He takes Leia to give himself another character. He had lots of options in there. There was another Luke in there. Clash was in there. Sorry about the mess combo was in there. That'd have been a good one to get. He possibly could have just hit Mara, played the sorry about the mess, cleared her, and had sight control. It's kind of one of those things where if you're worried about whether or not this is going to be a wasted attempt, because obviously you're trying to get the beat down in to do the damage, but if your opponent has the Gick, then this is kind of all for naught. Chewie gets hit. I'll take care of the weapon. Draws low from Battle Destiny. Uses Solo to play the Jedi Lev. That's a pretty good move. Cancel and redraw that. That's a better Destiny. Plus you get Obi into hand. 9. That's solid. But again, we're out of force here, so we've got no more cards to draw. We've got nothing else to do. Chewie's dead. Solo's probably dead. There's the Gick. There was a chance that obviously he did that. He didn't have it, but certainly was a risky move. He's going to force push here. He's going to get the sniper and he's going to kill Jin. That'll give us a peek at his hand. Loses a force. So we get a peek at the hand. We see there's the 2/2. Maul, Phantom Menace, P-59, a second Vader, a Barrier Canceller, okay, and overseeing it to prevent drains from being cancelled or to get Vader back. EPP Maul, Phantom Menace sure sounds like trouble for Rey. We'd be looking. Phantom Menace won't do much to keep Maul alive, but still, you're still looking at 7 to 4 in the power. Hit forfeit 0, so you're up 3 off the bat. Rey adds 1, so you're up 2 basically. But he's got 17 force, so you could drop Maul and P-59. Ooh. Reserve deck was 1, 1, 4, 5. I think another 5. So there's 2 1s in there, 2 Mauls floating in there. That could obviously be bad. So this play is a little riskier. Just throwing down just P-59. Rey's ability 4. So there's 3 cards that hit, 2 that miss. But she's immune to less than 3. So, you've got... Well, there's two cards that completely miss and 3 that would hit and crack the immunity. So it's not that bad, actually. But with only 4 cards in hand and 1 Hujik's already played, I'd have dropped Maul on her. I'd have dropped Maul and P-59. I'd have shot her, I'd have swung at her, I'd have drawn Battle Destiny, and I'd have, hit her, made her lose 2, swung. That would have been a 5. You assume probably he draws the 1 on the second swing. That leaves 2. Even if you draw the 1, that's like 13, 12, 11. So, but then you still keep a guy there as well. Yeah, looks like Rey got lucky and blind drew a 6. But Light side's behind, but not in a terrible spot. I mean, Vader's got that one little drain set up, but that's about it. This could certainly be an opportunity to draw. Is this Leia a senator? Yes. And there's another slight downside to civil disorder. Senators are deploy +2. And Leia's deploy cost may not be modified by opponent. Looks like she can still be modified by your own civil disorder, though. That's certainly a unfortunate side effect. Now we're going to see Shawn go all out again, swinging for the fences. One final last-ditch effort, really, here. Can't retrieve because of coward, so he doesn't get any characters back. We've already lost Chewie, Rey, Han, at least Luke. Jar Jar's over there. Padme, Leia, and Obi are all over here. So a good portion of his characters are already gone. He takes a swing at Vader. Doesn't get it done. I have to make it up in the Battle Destiny section. That's only a 6. Dark side's down 10. They get the 5. So Vader's going to die. Light side's going to lose Padme and Leia. So Obi's going to be hanging out there by himself. We just saw him Sith Fury Maul into hand. From looking at his hand earlier, we knew he already had a Maul and a Phantom Menace. So I fully expect that we'll see Darth Maul go take care of Obi-Wan. No force left to spend to retrieve. He could have retrieved because Coward's not satisfied because the shield requires Darkseid to occupy a battleground. Looks like he overactivated a little bit. He's going to undo that, and but yeah, Lightside really put himself into a bad spot and just continually with pushing and pushing and pushing, ran his hand down. There were opportunities in the early part of the game, especially if you didn't put this sight out. You could have taken a turn and drawn 5 or 6 more cards, or 2. You know, he had Jin down here, kind of holding up this drain for a turn or 2. Maybe his opponent gets desperate for trying to get some damage through and puts Emperor and Mara over here at the docking bay. And then you're like, thank you. And then you just drop this with Luke 1 or 2 turns later. And then you get into a drain race situation where, you know, they're draining for 1 here and 1 or 2 here, and you keep moving the prophecy around. But by putting the sight out early, gave the opponent the foothold, and then it kind of flipped the table, and he spent the whole game trying to, you know, fight uphill battles, and that did not quite work out. And it also didn't help when he kept, you know, throwing everything in his hand that he could at it and never reloading it. You know, when you got 3, 4 cards, now you're down to 1 card this turn, what's his opponent really afraid of? So he swung, he hit Vader. Loses Obi, peels a few in overflow. Phantom Menace makes Maul completely immune to attrition. He's a little harder to hit. I mean, if you know your destinies, swinging for Maul there would have been the better play, because then if you blind draw the 6, which you've got a couple of Jedi Lukes floating through your deck, you clear both. But not a whole lot Lightside can do at this point. I mean, this not a whole lot. I mean, you can activate, and you can throw Lando down at one of the sites. You can draw up some cards. Try and find a better character. Actually, now that I think back to it a little bit, this battle here against Rey, I definitely would have used Maul to clear her out. I probably would have used P-59 and shot Jar Jar just for spite. um, if he had another Visage, that would have made sense to get the Visage damage back on the board. But he did not. He used the no escape and got the Force Lightning back. But that's going to go ahead and do it here. As we said, one of the things that Shawn did throughout the game was continue to push. And once you get yourself sometimes in one of those spots, you may not even realize it early on, but you give your opponent an inch, and then it's that snowball. It's a tiny little snowball effect that just kind of rolls right down the hill. And it all revolved around putting the battle planes out a little too early, and not just drawing a few more cards early on in the game. If you had found this, sorry about the mess, some of those battles could have been a lot, could have gone a lot differently. Hit Tarkin and then remove him from the battle, and now he only draws one, or he obviously had the heavy now to draw three anyway. But if he doesn't have that, or if you play different characters, the second battle with the Chewie and you hit and clear Mara and don't go for the overflow and make him burn the Gick, and now you still have all three of your guys parked at the battle planes. So little things like that obviously all stem from the same underlying things that we've talked about in other shows. So we're going to go ahead and move on to game 2. This is a pretty quick game. So Shawn's playing a Coruscant CRv deck. He's playing against Batmouse, who's playing Diplo. Batmouse is doing the Diplo squadron assignment start, so we can get the General, Calrissian, Falcon, and kind of do the quick flip, the quick plan delivery. I've been trying that out myself a little bit. I certainly like it. Definitely makes things go a bit more consistent with getting to the plans. You can go all the way down and come right back to Tatooine. If you want to try and set up Celebration and hold the system better, then you've got a guy who can draw on a ship, plus you've got another ship for some more power. Certainly seems a good way to go. You can also send them down to Alderaan and then move them back to Chandrilla, which is what we'll see Batmouse do here in a little bit. And then you move the Tantive over, so now you've got a big force drain activation, and you don't have to spend time putting pilots on the Tantive. So certainly you kind of accomplish two birds at one stone at the cost of a starting effect slot. I've wondered if it's worth it also to play any other matching ships to make this not such a dead effect afterwards. Like if you're playing Tantive with like Bright Hope Spiral and the Falcon, then you're really just playing this only for the Falcon, or Profundity, or whatever your other capitals might be. It kind of hurts you a little bit. Shawn just gets his activation out, and he pulls the Coruscant site, pulls a docking bay, had a docking bay. So he's in a pretty good spot here. He's got 12 cards in hand. He certainly has the ability to match for pilots. Tarkin, to add a Destiny possibly with Vader, or Boba we could see with the squadron assignments, or I'm sorry, short range fighters, combat readiness. He's got a Blizzard 4 for the ground. Doesn't do much at the Dune Sea, Blizzard 4. Because you need 6 ability to draw there. I've seen more than a few people forget that text and they drop Blizzard 4 to battle somebody, and that kind of blows up in their face. But like I mentioned, we're going to see Batmouse do the quick delivery. You need 7 force to do it. Shawn plays a short range combo, which gets grabbed. He takes Saber 1. He's got a cannon he can shoot the Falcon. That would be pretty pretty exciting. But he does not. So Batmouse will deliver the plans. You know, Tatooine, you move from Tatooine for free. So you move down for free, and then you pay 1 to make the second move once per game to move the Falcon back somewhere to a battleground. Moving to Chandril is pretty good with the Tantive. Now he's got 11 power. He's got good forfeit there. The droids cover 7. Mothma covers 5. That's 12. Or Lando, if he's got other pilots in his hand, he could just, and then he's got a Falcon he can forfeit, for 7 in a counter battle, pile guys onto the Tantive. But Shawn goes big. He sends Vader, Tarkin, second battle of Destiny. He's going to dark maneuvers, and I guess he's going to spin a 7, which is spin's already grabbed, so that's going to cost him 2. And his second spin. And then he'll blind draw a second Destiny. 7 guarantees he gets rid of the droid plus something. So that's a good move there, obviously, to guarantee that you're clearing multiple things. And then obviously Vader can subtract 2 from the Destiny drawback. Draws low there. Can't redraw that with Tarkin. So he's got a 9. That'll probably be the droids and Mothma. We're still kind of in the same situation here. He's going to move away so he doesn't get counterattacked. Fortunately, the only system to move to is Tatooine, where he can't draw multiple Destinies unless he's got an independent or Trade Federation ship. His opponent's got a tunnel vision. 10, 12 cards in there. Certainly a lot of options he could get. Home 1 War Room. That could be problematic if it was a home 1 Akbar situation, but he wouldn't have enough to battle. He could drop home 1. He could drop Akbar there, drop home 1 in front, and then move him up if that's what he was playing. But Bacta Tank is pretty huge in this style deck, especially with a lot of low deploy characters that draw by themselves. Being able to kind of keep them around definitely changes the scope of things. He gets Leia down, flips because he controlled. So now we're looking at +2 to his total battle destiny. Shawn's going to send Dooku. He's got kind of a mixed bag of destiny draws here. We see, 1, 2. There's 3 Mauls, Sidious, that's 4. Gik, that's 5 1s. A 0, 6. And 2 2s, 7, 8. So 8 out of 21 cards don't crack Leia's immunity. It's less than half. That's 8 out of 21. It's, just over like 35%, something like that. So he'll battle Leia first. And he draws one of the 1s. And he's got nothing else to back it up with, which is unfortunate. And Leia draws a 5, which adds 2, and that's going to clear Dooku. At this point, Shawn conceded. I think he said something about his wife being home and him having to run anyway. But, it was a little bad luck there. digging himself into a little hole with the bad draws, um, and then kind of being stuck here. I don't know if his plan was to battle the Falcon. Probably. I probably would have battled because he can still subtract 2 from their draw, which is what they're adding. It's immune to less than 5, so it kind of offsets it. So you'd have to, Diplo would have to draw a 5 blind to get it. But he certainly had other ships in hand. Had the Blizzard 4 here. Had to drop Dooku and Blizzard 4 and really kind of overloaded Leia at this site here. Blizzard 4 does nothing at the Dune Sea, so that would have been an interesting play. And if Diplo typically plays the Cantina, where Blizzard 4 can't go anyway, maybe you might get like a Mos Eisley or something to do a Cantina shuffle, but that would have been something to consider too. Dooku plus Blizzard 4, that's 13 and a Destiny, so you're guaranteed. You're well, you're not going to guarantee, but it certainly makes it more obvious that Leia would have to die. I mean, she's going to go to the tank probably, but you have the possibility to do some additional damage. If you draw better and they draw a little lower, you might even get a few overflow out of that. I mean, it's 13-3. You're up on her by 10. She covers 6 plus 2 from the Destiny, so she covers 8. So you have a 2-point advantage on her right there. So depending on the actual physical cards themselves, you might have had a better possibility there of getting some damage in. And then at least if you have to lose something, you could lose Dooku and keep, in this situation you have to lose Dooku, but at least you still have Blizzard 4 there, so you'd have some ground presence. They'd be dead. They would flip back probably, unless in this situation they end up just peeling a few cards to keep themselves flipped, but we don't know that we're going to draw that bad. So there's certainly some options there. We'll move into the third game real quick. This one also did not go the distance. He is the chosen one against Map. Map is the deck that a lot of people ask about left and right, because it is certainly the deck that's kind of warping the meta right now. I'll give that a second. Hang on. So, map started bow and you'll be dead. So we're expecting to see some blasters on some stormtroopers. Map's certainly a tricky one to play against because of how fast and reliable they do get themselves set up. I mean, first turn is pretty much always a guaranteed Kylo shuttle lightsaber. Just depends on, everybody puts them a little someplace different. Some people put them over at the Jakku site to try and then get the Jakku system at a used pile. Some people like to put them over here because this site, your power's +2, or Kylo's power's +2. We're going to see huge. I guess there's something in his force pile that he wanted, because he played the Dark Time to activate one more so he could get Hux out. I guess the lightsaber was in there. That's what it was. So he did that to get the fish out the lightsaber, blast points to get the blaster to get that out. Kylo's going to get out, and I mean, first turn, you're looking at, what did this deck just put on the table? 14 power, a Destiny to power because Kylo's with the shuttle, a Battle Destiny, and if you lose against them, you lose 2 force. So this is kind of a giant pain in the ass to deal with. Um, I would avoid it. It's a drain of 2. That's a problem, but it's not it's not a big problem. He just put like 7 cards on the table to do it. HITCO's deck doesn't typically put a lot of cards on the table. And if you had a Skywalker at this site, the prophecy won't move from there. So you could drop Luke over here with his lightsaber, Force Drain. That'll move the prophecy over, which adds a battleground. So now you're draining for 3, they're draining for 2, but they've spent 7 cards to do it, and you've done it with 2. But a lot of people look at this and they feel the pressure. I mean, yeah, they're doing the extra 1 ping, so it's an even trade. But again, you're still ahead on life force counts. Look at this. He's got 43 cards left down, and his opponent has 34. He's ahead by 9 cards. So if they're just trading the same force damage over and over again for a couple turns, light side comes out ahead in that battle. But in terms of how to interact with map, it really all comes down to what your deck does best. Strategic reserves certainly is an issue. I don't know why Luke went there. I guess he looked and thought, hey, that's a bigger force drain. I can drain for 3 here, and then this will move. But this is going to keep moving back and forth because that moves wherever you drain with the side of 5. So Kylo's going to drain and move this, and then Luke's going to drain and move it, and they're going to keep moving it back and forth. If Luke had been over here, it wouldn't move because the text on the site says, well, a Skywalker here doesn't relocate. So you still end up with the same drain of 3. And then more importantly, this gives you the option later to put people like Solo and Rey at this site, and then you've got 3 and 2 going to get more damage in later on. I probably would have saved that tunnel vision. That's just me personally. He uses the control in the first drain here. I probably would have saved that. I probably would have used it as a tunnel vision when I activated 11 next turn to, fish out a key card and just top deck 2 cards. There's nothing in your reserve deck in this type of deck that's like super critical. He pays the drain. He just gets hit with the trooper. That's kind of the unfortunate aspect of this deck, which makes it difficult to play against. Is Hux pulls the strategic reserves. You play, 4 non-unique troopers. Phasma counts. The FN guys count. They're all troopers because it doesn't say. Just says you can cancel by playing a first order stormtrooper. So it doesn't even have to say unique or non-unique like some of the other bargaining table cards or the original version of strategic reserves do. So there's probably about 7 or 8 characters that he can cancel force drains with in his deck. So now I get pinged with "You'll be dead." He'll pay to drain. Yeah, pay to drain for 2. Now he'll move the prophecy to that site. That's going to be another problem too, now that I think about it even a little further. Prophecy only moves after the force drain is completed, so as long as dark side keeps canceling the force drain with strategic reserves, this won't move. So that's going to be kind of a problem. Certainly a reason why a lot of light side players have started using Alter in their light side decks to try and alter strategic reserves. ShawnD's going to go ahead and pay 3 again and drain for another stormtrooper. comes that civil disorder again, which feels like, I don't know, it feels like Shawn just was like, he just wants to get a card out of his hand. He's like, just get this card out of my hand so I can not have it in here. He puts the battle planes out, and he drops Solo over there. I'm sure Rey's going to join him. So now he's got 2 spots set up. There you go. Fish out Jin. That would be pretty good. To get hurt, he's going to do it. He's going to deploy Jin, spend his last 4 force. Do not like that move. Eat 1 more drain. Draw 2 cards. Keep Jin in your hand. Keep 1 or 2 force. Bluff the possibility that you have a barrier by not playing Civil Disorder. Throw Civil Disorder away to the force drain. Huh. He doesn't pay to drain. Oh, Jin's there, so he doesn't pay to drain. But he would have paid to drain anyway. You know what? That's fine. Let him spend the force paying to drain. Something else you might want to do here when you see those 2 First Order Stormtroopers sitting over there. Yavin's Sentry Shield might come in handy. Make him spend a little bit more force. In this case, it'd be 1, but he's probably not playing enough to make it worth it in this matchup. Against like Destroyer Droids or something like that, where you see, multiple non-uniques, that would make a little more sense. Hey, look, First Strike. That's going to be a problem. Didn't save any force. Used it all pushing cards out. Nothing going on there. And Shawn's going to go ahead and scoop this game in just a second here. Especially now we see Search and Destroy at the table. But basically what we're looking at here, we'll assume that Huge has the Trooper Assault. Sorry, lost my train of thought there for a second. So he's looking at 20 power plus 2 destiny. One of these guys is going to get shot, so both of them are going to die. They've got plenty of forfeits, so he probably isn't taking overflow. So, I mean, we're looking at she's 7, he's 6. That's 13. Nothing there makes him forfeit 0. So you've got 20 and 2 battle destiny going up against 8 plus 13 and forfeit would be 21, and odd destiny, and Rey adds 1 to the total. So it's not like a huge overflow situation there. I mean, you probably get a couple cards plus the 1 card from First Strike, plus the 1 card from Search and Destroy in the draw phase. And looking at his hand, he does not have a whole lot to come back with. Again, because he ran it down a little bit and could have drawn a few more cards instead of Jin. But this game definitely got off to a rocky start and would be a very difficult one to come back from. So as we saw in today's episode, some of the same things we've seen in other games, which is surprising because I'm not sure when these. Well, let me stop. I'm not sure when these links are from. Hopefully, they're not too old. They seem to be fairly recent. But Shawn seemed very gung ho about going through the first couple of games and taking notes and things. So maybe you just needed a little refresher course on not over deploying all the cards in your hand and making sure you get to draw a couple and making sure you get to save a force and not putting Civil Disorder out earlier and keeping that mystery about whether or not you have a barrier or whether or not you're even playing barrier alive a little longer. Certainly might make your opponent think twice about some of their deploy actions. Might make them think twice about what card they grab. They might be thinking, I need to save it and grab in case I need to grab a barrier, and you might get to sneak something else through. You never know what goes on in your opponent's head sometimes. But thanks to Shawn for sending these over. These were some good games to review and at least discuss some basic board setups and some things like that. Appreciate the links from everybody. Running out of links, so if you have a few more you want to send over my way, please do so. And continue watching and keep subscribing to my channel, and we'll keep doing these things. Have a great day.